Accessing library computer data.
Out there are no saints. Just people.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. We're continuing our run through of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Right now we're up to the episode called In the Cards. It is the 25th episode, the penultimate, as I want to say, of the 5th season. Aired on June 9th, 1997. Teleplay goes to Ronald D. Moore. Story credit goes to Truly Barr Clark and Scott Neal. Directed by Michael Dorn. I think this might be Worf's first director credit. I'm not sure. Anyway, in this episode, Jake and Nog get into trouble while trying to cheer up Sisko by acquiring a mint condition 1951 Willie Mays rookie baseball card. In the meantime, the Dominion offers to sign a non-aggression pact with Bajor. We're joined by Clay. Clay, how are you?
I didn't realize Michael Dorn directed this. Apparently he doesn't know how to direct Worf, because he's in one scene and just staring into the corner for the whole scene. Is he like that because it's like a stand-in because he's directing the episode or something?
No, I think it's just the joke, right? I mean, there's a joke, but I don't know any other reason why he was in there. I thought he just does it because it's kind of like Worf doesn't want to be there, so he's just going to stare at the corner awkwardly and then get dismissed by Sisko when it's over.
Oh, sure, I guess.
In the cards.
It's actually, has he directed anything else like previously? Because I didn't think it was. I thought it was pretty competently directed. I mean,
I don't remember seeing.
He didn't do any weird shit like Picard tried when he got to direct one.
No, it's Riker. Jonathan Frakes has obviously been like the most competent of the directors so far, but LeVar Burton has directed a couple DS9s. This is the first time I've seen Michael Dorn, I think. So unless I'm forgetting something, I don't believe he'd ever directed a TNG. This would be his first turn at it, and he gets a comedy episode to do it. It's called In the Cards. So we're going to take a break. We're going to play an audio clip, and me and Clay are going to come back, and we're going to break it down.
I did some checking on you two. It turns out that you were the station commander's son, and you were the nephew of the man who owns the bar.
That's right.
Since you are not in fact working for the soulless minions of orthodoxy that have hounded my work and plagued my existence, I have decided to open negotiations regarding the sale of a mint condition 1951 Willie Mays rookie card, without the original packaging or chewing gum.
Excellent. We would like to open the negotiations with a bid.
The card is not for sale.
What? But you just said...
I am willing to trade the card in exchange for the following items.
I'm sure you remember this, Clay, because you tend to remember everything you've ever said on the podcast.
Steel trap this mind of mine.
In like season 2 of DS9 or something, maybe even season 1, you had asked, I forget what episode we were talking about, but you had asked if there was ever a Star Trek episode where the primary focus was on a sort of lighthearted plot in the front of the story, while something like a disaster was happening in the background. So you sort of saw a disaster happening in the background of the show while you were focused on other characters. Everyone came back and chimed in with In the Cards as the answer for that case. So you seem to have gotten the answer to your question that you asked 5 or 6 seasons ago. In the Cards is that kind of a episode where it does an unusual Star Trek thing. It flips the A and the B plot, where the A plot is the silly comedy plot and the B plot is the serious drama plot. But what'd you think of it?
Be careful what you wish for, kids. I did not like this episode very much. I don't know. I thought the ending was cute, the way it all wrapped up, but I was looking at my watch for about 75 to 80% of this episode.
I really like it. I really like this one. I
don't care for it.
Yeah, I think it's
one of those things that I don't like. One of the things I don't miss about more episodic TV is this is the second to last episode of the season, and it just felt like a waste of time to me.
Okay.
Like the character stuff at the end is fine. You know, it's a nice little through line about everybody's depressed at the beginning, and then, you know, through the hijinks that ensue in the middle, everybody ends up in a better place at the end for momentarily. But if this was any show now, and this was the second to last episode of the season, if this was the second to last episode of Game of Thrones, people would lose their shit even more than they did at the actual second to last episode of Game of Thrones. It's like the Dominion stuff is fine, there's some interesting stuff there, I guess, but even that they takes like 2 scenes to do that stuff, and then the rest of it is just Nog and Jake running around getting stuff, and I don't know, I didn't care for it.
Yeah, I think that they do a good job here of, they wanted to do a sort of smaller episode in the lead up to the finale, and they also wanted to keep everyone's mind about what's at stake, which I think they do through the Dominion plots in the background here. And I think it works because it's one of Star Trek's comedies that at least works in my mind. Like, it's not a Ferengi episode. I think it's genuinely got some okay jokes on a Star Trek level in it. I think that the Elias Geiger guy is a really kind of like almost a parody of a Star Trek character that they kind of poke fun at. And I like his performance. I like the way that that's going on. I like the idea that he thinks it's possible to be bored to death. Like your cells will just become bored. I like the
really appropriate for me given this episode, actually.
I like the joke where he climbs out of the tube and is like, well, that wasn't so bad. I was pretty bored for the first 5 hours, but outside of that, I like that the fact that I think it does okay in terms of the serialized nature by backgrounding the Dominion story. And my one criticism, I think, of it would be that, like, while the episode's theme is basically saying that, like, even in moments of like true darkness, you can always find moments that make you laugh, and you can find happiness in the dark moments. I think that what they do at the end with Weyoun and the Dominion by turning them into part of the joke kind of undercuts that a little bit. Where I feel that the Dominion plot should be even more dark than it, or like more foreboding than it actually is, and I don't like that they kind of dovetail it into the jokiness nature of the first plot. I would have preferred to have kept it separate, and I thought that even though the tones are so wildly different between the two plots, I didn't feel that they interfered and made it feel like a lesser episode. I thought that they worked well with each other, and that you got the sense of Jake and Nog running around kind of ignorant as to what was going on in the real story that's going on in the background, and the two didn't really contradict each other in a nice way, where normally when the tones are so different like that, it feels like it's kind of just a hodgepodge of an episode, but here I feel like it works.
Yeah, I think the other thing that bothered me was the beginning of it set the tone as though it was coming off a bunch of Dominion-based stuff where things were getting more and more dire, and I don't really feel like the last few episodes have dealt with that at all. At least not to the point where everybody's sitting around depressed about the state of things. Like Empok Nor isn't a Dominion episode really, and Blaze of Glory kind of is. Would you call that a Dominion episode?
I'd say it's as much of a background as this episode is. Like they're the reason for the events that are happening in that story.
Yeah, I guess the way that they present everybody's state of mind feels like it would be the follow up to a really big, victory by the Dominion type episode. And in that way, maybe it would have worked a little bit better for me as a way to lighten things up. But it feels like they kind of artificially darken things before they lighten things up.
Okay. So you're, and of course we're looking at this in a modern context, but you can certainly feel the clumsiness of them trying to insert the serialized Dominion story into things. It sticks out here, and like you say, the only thing that the sense that we get why things are going bad is because they open the episode by saying that a ship has been destroyed by the Dominion, basically, and they're like, oh, that's the third one this week or whatever, and so while we might criticize a more modern show like Discovery for not showing this kind of stuff, it is a relic of the era. Not to say that it's any better. True. It certainly is a problem, but it's like when they try to tie the Dominion in, it does not feel like they've consistently been there in the background of the show, and they just kind of pop up in episodes here or there.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe I'm being unfair to ask a tighter serialization for this show. I probably am. I don't know. If it also features them accidentally coming across a 300-year-old baseball card, which is even harder for me to believe than the thing with the Mustang in 2009 Star Trek, which is my least favorite part of that movie.
It's not just any baseball card; it's Willie Mays as well. It's not. It's not like it's Jason Varitek's third-year card from the Red Sox or something. It's like one of the greatest baseball players of all time's baseball card. It's
not like it's a baseball card from a set from like 1993 where they were printing millions and millions and millions of even, like the Bat Boy from the Mariners got a card.
Yeah.
It's a Willie Mays rookie card. I don't know. I mean, I understand. Fine, whatever. But that's I don't like it when they do that stuff in Star Trek. I have exceptions to the rule. Like, I've never minded. When we went back and we watched Wrath of Khan, it really stood out to me how Kirk's room is just filled with that shit to an extent where it means that it either must be everywhere or it is completely unbelievable, because he's got like suits of armor and like old guns from the 1700s and shit all over his quarters. Maybe it's just easier to get that stuff because antiques don't have any value anymore. I don't know.
Yeah. But he's got nothing between now and the 23rd century. Like he has nothing that's interesting from the past 200 years. Everything is from 300 years or older. Yeah.
Yeah. And you could at least argue that he got that stuff from Earth. Whereas finding a Willie Mays rookie card in the middle of the what quadrant, the Delta Quadrant, what Gamma Quadrant? Where are we? Alpha?
They're in the Alpha. The station's
Whatever.
in the Alpha. Yeah.
You know what I mean. It's fun, I guess, but it triggers a Star Trek thing that they do that I'd never like. And the actual story is. Did
you find the episode funny? Like relatively for Star Trek?
I guess. I don't know. I didn't find Nog and Jake particularly funny.
That's funny, because I think this is Jake's second best episode after The Visitor, which is like far, far ahead of this. But like, this is, to my mind, this is the best Jake Sisko has ever been, really.
I guess I enjoyed all the different stories he was coming up with, and I liked the thing about Willie Mays being a time traveler at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just overall, I just couldn't get into it. So their repartee back and forth didn't really land with me, and that scene where he's trying to rewrite Kira's speech while Nog is trying to filter out harmonic dissonance and the Klingon stuff, I almost shut it off because I was just like, "What the fuck are we doing?" I
like the little vignettes. Like I think that Bashir is funny in this, where he's like, "No, this is where I want to be." Like when they're trying to sweet talk him into doing anything else he can so that they can steal the whatever liquid they want from him, and then he sends them after a teddy bear and stuff. That
was straight disturbing. That Nog could just climb into what's her name, Leah's room through a gigantic, Die Hard sized air hatch, or whatever, and that he apparently knows how to do that.
He's been there before. He's returned to the scene of the crime. I sort of view this one as, I don't know, like for whatever reason, I can dissociate this one from the universe of Star Trek for some reason, where like I can't do that with the Ferengi episodes a lot of the time, and it feels like the Ferengi episodes really feel like a waste of time to me. Here, this almost feels like it's because they stepped out of the usual tone for Star Trek so much, at least in terms of the Jake and Nog plot, I kind of appreciate how goofy it is. Like I recognize the comedy of it, and I recognize it just feels different. It doesn't feel like it was trying to make a serious or like a comedy episode out of like something serious that might happen to Jake on the station, which I think would be a disaster. They really went overboard with it, and by the end of it, I think that like I find it kind of a poignant point, really. Like I'll double your point, and I'll double down what I said before. I wish the Dominion story had been more consequential towards the end of this, where, especially leading into the season finale, where all they've been talking about for the past couple episodes are the coming war with the Dominion, and it is going to happen. I wish that something more devastating had happened to really highlight Jake's thing about dark times. That's the biggest weakness, I feel, because I really love the ending scene. I love the fact that Jake Sisko kisses Elder Sisko the way that Elder Sisko has always been kissing him on the top of the head at the end of this. I think it's like it's a good turning point story for. It's almost like there's something poignant, I guess, about it in terms of Jake growing up on the station. He's a character that we've watched grow up for the past 5 years or whatever. He starts off as the goofy kid that doesn't want to be there, and now he's sort of making his own way, and he's no longer reliant on his father to do things. He's moved out into his own apartment. He's getting this card of his own means. He's dealing with the dominion of his own means. There's always personal stakes about whether or not you like it, but I think it works pretty well in terms of what they were trying to do. I think it succeeds basically in what they were trying to do, and I can't hold that against it, I guess.
Yeah, I don't find it to be technically bad or anything. I think it's competently directed. I think the story more or less works out. I think the ending was I agree. The ending was poignant and kind of nice. The body of it was not, I didn't find it super interesting. And I guess I get that it's supposed to be like overly goofy.
Right down to the science of it, which I appreciate. The science of Geiger. We're trying to live forever.
Yeah. I also, my first question was when he's running away from Jake and Nog the first time, and he's like, I haven't broken any laws except for maybe the laws of nature. I was like, did this guy have sex with an animal? Because it sounds like he had sex with an animal.
We just watched the Deadwood episode where drunk Steve jerks off on the horse, and I was thinking about that whole thing. Yeah, and that guy looks familiar, but apparently he's only been in like Star Trek episodes. I couldn't see any. I'm sure he's been in other stuff, but when I looked him up, I just recognized him from other Star Trek episodes, even though he looks extremely familiar to me.
Well, the thing I thought he was good. I thought, his performance was good. But the thing I was thinking was it's a shame that Weyoun was in this episode, because that would have been a great Jeffrey Combs character.
Oh, sure.
And I actually,
I guess I'd push back on that. I like how grounded this guy played him, and I don't know if Combs would have been able to do that.
Yeah, that's fair. He is pretty grounded. I was wondering though, at the end when the two of them meet, when Weyoun has the line about having a background in creative genetics, is that an in-canon thing, or is that a Reanimator joke?
Oh, it might be both, but it's definitely referencing the fact that he's a clone.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because I was thinking, but with this type of character and having Jeffrey Combs in the episode, I feel like they missed an opportunity for a Reanimator joke.
That might have been it, actually. That might
have been it.
Yeah, that actually works on that level. I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just thinking about the clone thing, but it definitely works as a joke.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought everybody was good in it. I don't know. It's just one of those ones where the story didn't really grab me. I guess the thing that was bothering me about it is I understand that you want to have kind of like a breather episode before your finale, but I thought that the breather episode was the last one that I thought was a breather episode, which I can't remember what it was, like 2 or 3 episodes ago. I forget. It was
Empok, Blaze, and then whatever was. Well, yeah, I would double down on that by saying I feel like we've had a stretch of about 8 episodes that have been breather episodes.
Yeah.
So it's been consistent. I think that I think that what they mean is that they were trying to save money in this one.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So it's less of a serialized 12 episodes here. Let's show the calm before the storm, and it's more that they were trying to not spend as much. But I mean, I would say that this has come at the end of a fairly bad stretch in terms of where DS9 is at this point, where I think we were giving everything 2s and 3s for the most part. Yeah. And it continues being that lightheartedness of it, I guess. Yeah, I can't really disagree. I mean, it feels like our difference here is kind of a personal take on whether or not you enjoyed the thing. And it might have been my state of mind while watching this, but it did make me laugh. But I cut you off about saying whether or not it was a breather in the time that it came out.
Yeah, I think I was expecting. I understand what you're saying about like budget wise and stuff like that. But I guess I thought that I can't remember which episode it was. It might have been the time travel one, or not, the one where they
Children of Time. Yeah,
it might have been that one.
But that was a great episode, though. I guess is the
right. It was.
Yeah.
But I forget which one it was. There was one of them where I asked if this is the breather before they kind of really get into the Dominion stuff leading up to the finale.
I think that was Children of Time that you said that. Yeah.
And I never felt like they really have done that. There was a lot. Most of the episodes after that just were peripheral Dominion stuff.
So would you? I guess we should hit this point a little bit. You don't find the B plot of the Dominion story effective enough here to sort of set up where this is potentially going to go next episode? Because I feel
it's fine.
I feel they're fairly hammering the point that something is about to happen.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I think it's just a matter of it being, like 5 minutes of screen time, essentially. That it's interesting that they have they're fairly effectively setting up that something's going to happen, but it only takes a couple minutes to do it, so it almost doesn't really stand out.
Sure.
Because the rest of it is watching the two kids run around the station trying to find pieces to complete the Lego machine.
Yeah, and it's a shame because they have a lot of great actors with the Kai Winn, with Louise Fletcher, and Combs as Weyoun. I feel like we don't see a really extended period of Weyoun talking to Kai Winn, which I think would have been interesting. We have that scene where she says goodbye to him and that she's not anything like him. But outside of that, you don't really have anything. And like, would you have preferred that if they flipped this and made it more of a traditional B story is the comedy Jake and Nog running around, and the A story is the focus on the Dominion negotiations?
I don't know.
Do you think the focus was just misplaced on the episode, or because I like it because of how it backgrounds that stuff. I think that's kind of clever in a way, but I could see it going the other way and it being also a pretty decent episode.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I was just it being the second to last episode, I was ready to really sink my teeth into some Deep Space Nine stuff, and it was just like, well, we're trying to get a baseball card, and I was like, all right. Like, it was shit, what the hell was I going to say? Yeah, I
didn't have the urgency, I guess, would be the way that I'm hearing.
Yeah, it just wasn't the story that I was looking for, I guess.
Yeah.
At this point in the season, I don't know. I don't think it necessarily would have been improved by flipping things and really leaning into how depressing everything's getting. But it also has that element of.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but I think it's not even a joke. But at the start, where Sisko's trying to break the tension, he's like, "Miles, how's Kiriyoshi doing? Is he walking yet?" And O'Brien's like, "No," and then just drinks from his whiskey. It's like this dude's your boss, man. You got to give a little bit more energy in your response than that.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. Maybe that threw me off too. That first scene, because it's played as everybody's depressed, but it doesn't.
I see it.
And when you look back at it, it is funny. Like the way that he responds is funny, and the Worf thing is funny. But like, if you kind of don't realize that it's supposed to be funny the way that they set it up.
Yeah. So they also frame it.
I don't know if it totally lands.
They frame it like The Last Supper to me. It's shot very much like The Last Supper painting, which I think is interesting. But it is kind of that scene is probably the biggest sufferer of the tones colliding between the two, where it's supposed to be this very dark moment, but they're obviously going for jokes mixed into it, so it kind of clashes a little bit there, where the rest of the episode keeps those storylines and tones separate, and I think it works a little bit better. Yeah,
I don't know. It's just not the tone I was expecting. Yeah.
What?
I had something else I was going to say, but I forgot what it was.
What do you? I'll keep bringing up this point, I think, but it's good to check in now. I think about it. I really like Weyoun as a character. I think he's one of my favorite Star Trek DS9 characters. What do you think of Weyoun at this point? You've had about 3 or 4 episodes of him.
Yeah, I like him. He's weird, and he always delivers negative information and negative tidings to people in a very fun, quirky kind of way.
Yeah. He shows up like he's a the singing telegram type person. Like he shows up with that sort of attitude. I just think that his portrayal of this race, which is bureaucratic middle management, is like pitch perfect. Basically, it's like it's delivering news with this sort of bullshit smile on their face, and you see through it, but he isn't even aware. Like, I think that he is not aware that he's being duplicitous and shitty to people. Like, he has been genetically engineered to just embrace this sort of happy-go-lucky, well, this is going to be good news when you join the Dominion. Like, I'll see you soon. It's good to see you. I really like being here. Like, I believe that the Vorta are like programmed to really believe that stuff, and that's why they're so good at it. And his performance of that kind of smarmy like politician glad-handing person is a really interesting race in Star Trek's canon. Yeah,
and I like that he's always backed by a couple Jem'Hadar.
Yeah,
because it do you remember? Did you watch Parks and Rec?
Yes.
I always loved the way that they positioned Rob Lowe and Adam Scott when they showed up, where Rob Lowe was like the really positive guy who was all about, befriending everybody and having fun. And then he'd be like, all right, well, I'm going to hand it over to, I forget what his name is, the character. So we'll see you later. And then Adam Scott would be the one who'd be like, we have to fire everyone here.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the vibe that I get from this, where it's like Weyoun is kind of like a little bit on the lighter side. And, can deliver negative stuff in a quirky kind of fun way, but he always has Jem'Hadar with him just in case you forget that who he represents.
Right. He's the harbinger for the destruction that is right behind him. Yeah. And I really like the performance. We've talked a lot about how he goes 5% into camp with his performances, and it's like just the right amount of tone that you need to get out of it. Again, I do have a problem with him being sort of a goofball at the end of it and being into the immortality machine and stuff like that. I wish they hadn't done that, but it doesn't hold it back for me enough, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess I was expecting some sort of different payoff with the immortality machine as well.
Fans thought that this was going to be the way that the Dominion are defeated. That's like they thought that this was planting the seeds for like this technology would be the undoing of the Dominion. That is a spoiler. That's not the case.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I don't know what I was expecting, but it was just such a weird, goofy thing that seemed goofy. I guess I was expecting it to have more edge to it, but it just ended up being goofy.
Do you think it says anything about Star Trek? That's my takeaway from it. I think it's a meta commentary on being entertained to death, basically, like being wasting away, sort of watching TV. I guess is the way that you like. That's always how I perceive that storyline. Is that it's some sort of commentary on television. I think just because he is, it's about being bored and being hooked up to this machine to keep you going and things like that. I don't know. I might be reading too much into it, but I always felt like it was saying more than what Geiger is actually talking about.
Yeah, I could see that. I guess does the machine work though? I guess we never find out if it works.
Yeah, never find out. The minions of orthodoxy might take it away from him in time, which is a great turn of phrase. I like that he calls everybody that.
Yeah. I think overall, I mean, one of the other things that bothered me about it is it's one of those stories where all of the conflict is based on Jake just not telling people what's going on.
Yeah, do you take Nog's position there, where he should just tell everybody what's happening?
Yeah, kinda. Yeah. I mean, I understand why they do, because you gotta generate this story somehow. But it's one of those things where like my rational brain is like, just fucking tell him, just tell him. It'll be fine. Just tell him. And I don't know, maybe that takes the fun out of it, and it obviously does eliminate the ending, because then they wouldn't have to do all those tasks that make everybody more relaxed or whatever. But I don't know, it's just one of those things where stories based on one person refusing to tell another person some information for reasons that don't rationally make sense tend to bother me. I'm not saying it's bad. I think it's fine. It's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I guess I would normally agree with you. I think Jake has a rationalization. It's just not a very good one. So I say it kind of splits the difference maybe. And I guess you could argue that because Nog is in Starfleet, Nog sees the way that the show wants him to go. Like Nog's opinion is the Starfleet rational way to like deal with your commanding officer and everything. And Jake is not in Starfleet and kind of handles it like a kid still, where he just wants to impress his dad. So it doesn't really bother me. I think this is one of those episodes that sometimes when shows are written, and I don't even know, this is kind of a problem I have with some criticism, where like if you read too far into things, you can kind of start, I think you just start making things up. But I think that what this episode does is sometimes when things are well written enough, even the accidents seem like they mean something better than what they are. And I think that's why I like this episode a little bit. Like I feel that all the pieces here add up to something greater than what they are, even if I don't think that the episode was written intentionally to get to that point. So like Visitor is the opposite example of that, where I feel like the whole episode is great, but it's built up to something, like it's built to this, making this point. I don't feel that was the intention when they started out writing this one. I thought it was just kind of we're going to kill an hour. It's going to be low budget. We're going to deal with the Dominion in the background. But I feel like it like thematically resonates in a lot of ways, I unintentionally. And I think that's what I appreciate about it. Yeah,
that's fair. Yeah, I think, I liked it a bit more once it got to the ending and it all kind of came together. But yeah,
just the getting there was not worth the trip.
Yeah, and I guess part of me kind of wished, and I understand what they were doing, where Jake keeps digging himself into holes by not telling anybody the truth or whatever. But I kind of wish that Cisco had found out about it. I don't know, just I guess part of me thinks that them getting away from Weyoun so easily doesn't really teach Jake a lesson. Yes.
Should Weyoun have gone all Theon Greyjoy on Jake for the rest of the episode?
No, but like, I don't know. It seems like the kind of thing where your father shows up at the principal's office and has to help you out of a jam kind of thing.
Sure.
But I don't know. I guess that's not absolutely necessary. Well, I think it's fine.
That's kind of. I guess that could have been interesting, because that would have shown you the darker side of the Dominion that I think the episode would have been missing. I'm
not even saying that like they have to be threatening to kill him or anything.
No.
It's just having their actions as lighthearted as they were end up with them being captured. Well, taken aside, let's say, by Weyoun and the Dominion. That's kind of that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And especially it's a big deal for Weyoun as well, because he's got Cisco's son. And I'm not saying it has to turn into like any sort of hostage thing or whatever, but it just feels like, I don't know. Another way they could have gone with it would be for Cisco to show up and then Jake to be like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean for this all to happen. I was trying to do X. And that kind of thing where Cisco comes in hot and Weyoun is kind of like thinks he has some play over Cisco, and then Jake's like, I'm sorry, that's not what this was at all. This guy's an idiot. He's an insane person. I just was trying to get this baseball card from my dad.
Right.
And then, give them a moment where the Cisco and Weyoun can kind of like relax around each other.
Yep.
For an innocent caught in the middle, they can kind of be like, all right, obviously this is a misunderstanding, all things considered, let's go home, that kind of thing. It doesn't, again, not necessary, not absolutely, doesn't break the episode that they didn't do that.
Yeah.
But another thing they could have done.
I think it's a moment you can also, I think if I were to go that way, I'd lean more on Jake learning something about growing up there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
Jake coming to realize that his actions have repercussions, I think, is something that would thematically tie into the war storyline as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's it. In the cards, we're going to take a break. We're going to play an audio clip. Me and Clay are going to come back. We're going to read some Patron thoughts, and then we will give our own thoughts and call it a day.
Captain Cisco! I can't tell you how happy I am to see you again.
I wish I could say the same.
How delightful. You feel comfortable enough around me to make jokes. I'm so pleased to see our relationship evolving beyond the stale adversarial stage.
No, it's not. But before you twist that into a compliment, let me be blunt. I don't like the Dominion, I don't like what it stands for, and I don't like you. So let's dispense with the hollow pleasantries and stick to business.
I can't tell you how it pains me to hear you say that, Captain. You see, I really like Deep Space Nine, and I like you. And after this meeting with Kai Winn, I think you and I will be seeing a lot more of each other.
All right, everybody. So if you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/thepenskyfile. A couple dollars a month, you get extra stuff. We'd also like to let you know that if you become a $5 and up patron by June 5th, you'll get access to 4 Orville episodes that we're going to be covering. If you're not a patron by that date, you won't be able to get them. We're not going to post them anywhere. We're not going to make them available for patrons later. You have to be available by June 5th at the $5 and up level, and then you'll get the Orville episode. So if you like Orville, I'd recommend signing up for that. And then you can also get a shout-out if you're a Captain Tier supporter. Andrew Chirlog, Ben Douglas, Bradley Killens, Captain Quark, Cardinal Doomsday, Christian Pouch, David K., Dwayne Hackett, Eric Johnson, Yarpy, Joint Mango, Kyle Barrett, Matt Flores, Matt Cutler, Matt Ross, Michael Pond, Mike Burnett, Nathan Elliott, Neil Brennan, Nick Sergi, Russ Graham, Samuel Custer, Grim Santo, Sean Spinobi, Stephen Cobb, Tarek Latif, and Will Yates. Thank you guys for supporting the show. Much appreciated. All right, Clay, time for patron thoughts here about In the Cards. In the Cards, Poindexter G says, this episode is bizarre, absurd, and completely and utterly ridiculous, and I love it. It's one of the best comedy episodes in all of Trek. I try to work the phrase soulless minions of orthodoxy into casual conversation as often as possible. Holly, is this
with
Holly?
Who?
With your mother. In the Cards, Holly McLaughlin says, the weird guy trying to outwit death reminds me of the tech bros pushing transhumanism. Very funny and well done. It's also a lovely idea to imagine that a simple pleasure like collecting baseball cards will survive into the 24th century. Benjamin dressing down his son in Nog is a great scene.
I mean, to be fair, it didn't even survive the 20th century.
Sorry, what do you mean? Am I just being dumb?
The collecting baseball cards isn't really a thing so much anymore. I mean, it is for some people, but not as much as it was at the time this episode came out.
No, it's on a downward trajectory, just like Beanie Babies, and my Beanie Baby collection is never going to recover what it once was.
Now, if this episode had been about Jake trying to get an Alf Pog for his dad, then maybe I'd be on board.
He's got a huge slammer. It's just meant to Weyoun bringing up slammers or something. I think would be appropriate. Did you ever collect Pogs?
Very, very briefly. That was something that I tried to get into because my friends were into it, but even at the time, I was like, I don't know what the fuck any of this stuff is or why anybody would want it.
Pogs were only big for about a week, so you could have been into it for its entire existence, and I think not been there. I collected them as well. I have no idea why. The game was bad. Like, everything about them was bad.
Yeah, I don't even know how the game worked.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, everyone I knew, I was like, okay, so what do you do with these things? And they were like, I don't know, but they're cool, right? I'm like, yeah, check out this sweet slammer I have. It's got a skull on it.
Yep.
Cool.
Pogs.
Excellent.
Captain Quark says, this episode should be retitled Jake Sisko, Worst Friend Ever. Watches Jake manipulates his best friend Nog into spending his life savings, nearly feeling up for his future stepmother, almost ruining his nascent Starfleet career, and finally facing possible death at the hands of the Dominion. After going through all this, I wish the episode had ended with Jake giving his dad the card, the elder Sisko giving a cursory thanks, barely looking at it, and then just shoving it in a drawer somewhere. The perfect end to a low-stakes episode.
That was the other thing that really turned me off, is when Jake was like, don't you want to spend your life savings to help me help my dad?
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck you, man. Get the fuck, go work out a deal with Quark. Don't make your friend give you like 70% of his savings so you can buy a friggin' baseball card.
I liked the Jake joke about, like, he's like, we are in a post-scarcity environment, and Nog is like, what does that mean? He goes, we don't need money. It's like, it's commenting on how little sense the Star Trek economy makes, and these characters have to voice it.
Also, are bars, is that like, 10 cents, or I should say 100 cents equals $1 kind of thing, where like even though you have $100 made up of ones, you still say you have $100? You
mean the bars in strips of latinum?
Yeah, as opposed to, like, he said he had like 10. How many? I don't remember.
He had 5. Nog has 5 bars, I think. Yeah,
5 bars of latinum. Does that mean I assume that means that they are separate pieces that the combined amount is that?
I think so.
Otherwise, like, how would you use it to pay for things that are less than a bar?
Right. How would you make change, basically? Yeah.
Also, again, on the same point, if I was Nog and I was at that auction and Jake just yelled out 4 bars of latinum, I would punch him in the dick right there. I'd be like, no, we're not friends anymore.
Well, it eventually sold for something like 11, I think, right? So if Nog has been saving his entire life and he's only got 5, that baseball card went for a tremendous amount of money. So hold on to your baseball cards, I guess.
Do we ever even find out what the guy needs the rest of the stuff in that trunk to do?
I think he just wants one item in it, right? Because he needs it for the machine.
Right.
But
but do we find out? Do we know which one it is?
No, I don't think so.
No.
It's obviously not the baseball card, but yeah, he buys it for one piece, but then wins everything else. Norman Buckwald. In the Cards is one of my favorite comedy episodes. It's sort of a gift of the Magi like homage. It's a sort of gift of the Magi like homage. It worked perfectly, and that's always a risk, as let's not forget season 3's homages to Brigadoon and Midsummer Night's Dream. The banter between Jake and Nog was priceless, and of course Elias Geiger, his William Reich-like invention, and his paranoia at the soulless minions of orthodoxy. And for Nog's aggravation of Jake's let's keep a secret and do one a favor to achieve another goal, he seemed to, of course, forgot all about it when putting into practice the great material continuum with O'Brien about a year and a half later. I guess it's different when he's putting it in practice instead of Jake, much to O'Brien's misery. Next one. Sorry, I fell apart reading that one. Matthew Ross says, this is not this one. Christian Pouch says, up front, I love this episode. It's ridiculous. It involves the Dominion War only tangentially. Nothing of real consequence happens. Why are they doing this right before the finale? Why is everyone depressed out of the blue? Why is Weyoun acting like a joke? And really, I don't care. The characters are all fun. I love the ridiculous situations, and I think the jokes land. If you're going into a long stretch of super-duper serious shit, it's okay to take a breath beforehand. This episode also does not occur in a vacuum by pretending that nothing else is happening, like the Dominion War, as silly as that tie-in may be. I won't let you soulless minions of orthodoxy ruin my enjoyment. That's you, Clay. You're a soulless minion of orthodoxy, trying to make sense of this episode.
You know, what are you going to do? And then there's the part where they have, what's her name? The Bajoran lady arrested or something?
Kai Winn?
Kai Winn, yeah. Do they have her arrested? They do something because they think that she's the minion of orthodoxy. Oh,
yeah, because they see her talking to Jake sees her talking to the Vedic, right? That was trying to buy the card. Yeah.
But that's another reason why Cisco should have been involved. I mean, like, what the fuck are you doing? Although I guess Odo. I guess that's the role Odo played. I guess.
Yeah. So Odo threatens him with hard jail time. Matthew Ross says, I had to take a quick detour. No, the baseball card was not from the most toys, but it's the second card of the series, and no gum. Anyway, a silly interlude before all hell breaks loose with minor overtones of the upcoming drama. The Wizard of Oz line was cute, and who knew Weyoun was a longevity nut? Anyway, the acting was fine. Cisco was his Cisco-iest yelling at Jake. Jake had some balls to step up to Kai Winn and Weyoun. That's nice. Nog is the dutiful straight man. Everyone else is there. Regardless, you'd think that with such an enlightened age of improvement, people would be all over each other to help each other, but not so much. Clearly, the currency of the Federation is markers of favors, fun, and meaningless overall.
Oh yeah, maybe there is a scene. Is the scene where he yells at Jake? Is that after the Kai Winn thing?
That's when Jake and Nog go see her at her apartment, and then you cut to the scene of Cisco yelling at them.
Okay, yeah, never mind.
Eric Johnson says, in the Cards, exactly my kind of side story episode I like. Weird on paper, but surprisingly heartfelt in execution. A comedy of errors taking place under the shadow of the Dominion gives it the weight most Trek comedies don't have. Weyoun is great, Winn is even better, and this might be Jake's best episode outside of The Visitor. A pleasant surprise.
I forgot in that scene. Either Nog or Jake is like, we were drunk.
Yes.
We were drunk, and that's what it was. We were drunk.
That was the most surprising line of the episode, I think, that they would acknowledge that Jake is drinking on the station. And not just synthahol. Kyle Barrett's last comment. In the Cards, Jake kissing the top of his father's head, returning the action we've seen Cisco bestow upon his son many times previous, and then, of course, the hug at the end, made me a little choked up. It's nice that a largely comedic episode can still have an emotional and character-based underpinning. All in all, a really great and fun episode, and I particularly like Dr. Geiger, who feels like a Star Trek character by way of Douglas Adams. A DS9 episode that makes you feel as warm and fuzzy inside as Bashir's adorable little teddy bear. Thank you, patrons. Thank you for leaving your thoughts. Clay, it seems like the army is against you of opinion here. But you might not have liked the episode, but what are you going to give it on a scale of 1 to 5?
I will kill all of you and build a wall of corpses like Jon Snow. Based entirely on personal preference, I'm going to give it a 2.
Sure.
But I do understand why people enjoyed it, and it is not inherently a bad episode.
Just doesn't.
It's just not for me.
Yep, that's fine. I think I have to reboot my rating here. I'm gonna to accommodate what I think about this one. I'm gonna bump my Children of Time from a 4 to a 5. I think, and I'm gonna give this one a 4, and I think that's appropriate. I'm gonna give this one a 4. I really like it. I think it's pretty cute in a sort of unimportant way. I think that it does everything it wants to accomplish. It gets it all done. It doesn't draw anything out. It doesn't. The comedy is not Ferengi level comedy. I think it works better. Even the lions, geigers, and bears joke wasn't enough to torpedo it, I don't think. Yeah, I think I'm going to give it a 4. I think it's a pretty enjoyable episode before we get to the finale.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, maybe I was just biased going into it once I saw everybody who was involved, because it was a Jake and Nog centric story that also featured Bajor and Prophet stuff.
Yep.
Everything I dislike in one place.
Yeah. We'll get more into we didn't talk about the Bajor and Prophet stuff, but we'll get into that shortly. But yeah, it's definitely, it's got your least favorite aspects, I think, piling up against each other. Although you're not anti-Jake at this point, are you? Or would you say that do you have the same reaction to Jake and Nog as you do to the Bajor and Prophets?
No, I think I like the Prophet stuff least. Nog I don't love in general. He's okay, I guess. Jake is, I don't know. I think it's when they're used sparingly is when I enjoy them. And this episode they were not used sparingly.
I can see that. That's it, guys. Thank you very much for listening to the show. We'll be back with the season finale, which is Call to Arms. So we are done with season 5 after this, and that one will be out in a couple days. Thank you very much for listening. If you want to support the show, there's all the social media links down below: Facebook, Twitter, Discord. You can go to patreon.com/thepenskyfile if you want to support the show. Outside of that, I think that's pretty much it. Clay, do you have anything you want to say before this one is all done?
No, I don't think so.
No, I think we're on our way out here. I guess that's it. I don't think I have any announcements to make. Thank you very much for listening, guys. Thank you for supporting the show. And we will be back with Call to Arms in a couple days. See you then.